Dear students, welcome to EPG Pathshala. I am Mahesh Kalra, Curator of Numismatics at the Asiatic Society of Mumbai, and I welcome you to this module on the coinage of Indian princely states under the module Indian Numismatics. So in this module, we are going to aim to introduce various types of coinages introduced by Indian princely states which emerged in the late Mughal period and the early British period out of former Mughal provinces and kingdoms. It also looks at the coinages issued by these entities, the influences, whether Mughal, British or individual. It also looks at the various local political and socio-cultural factors which influence the coinages of these princely states. It also studies the trajectory of major princely states, especially after 1858, when there was a nationalist uprising of Indians. The Mughal Empire waned in the middle of the 18th century, and this led to a series of new states being formed. Some of these were semi-independent Rajput states, also being termed as antique states in modern history today, successor states which emerged out of the former provinces of the Mughal Empire under various officers of the Mughal Empire itself. Then there were many conquest states which emerged under soldiers of fortune. Many of these powers initially aligned themselves with the Mughals themselves and later with the Marathas, but detached themselves in the last decades of the 19th century. After 1818, most of the confederacy states of the Marathas also dissolved and formed the princely states of Baroda, Nagpur, Satara, Kolhapur, Gwalior, Indore, Devas and Dhar. These added some more princely states to the category. Also, there were many minor princely states which also existed as local officers or officials, and thus they issued their own coinage to express their own sovereignty. The features of the Indian princely states are most of these began as imitations of the local coinages or as coins of the Mughals themselves. The Mughal coin imitations were preferred over the other coins simply because they were more accepted in the interregional trade of the country. Many of the princely states used this opportunity to express their own local cultural aspirations, and their own local languages and scripts were thus employed on these coins. Devanagari, along with many other regional scripts, were thus used to communicate with the local populace who understood or read them. Many new eras were employed apart from the official Hijri era, which was preferred by the Mughals. These included the Shaka era, the Vikram Samvat, the Fasli era. The last one, Fasli era, was a local era of the Deccan, which was employed by the Nizams of Hyderabad. Most of the princely states began simply issuing their coinages after acquiring local mints from the Mughals themselves during the late Mughal period. This tradition, also called as farming out of mints, began in the late Mughal period. It began with the Emperor Farrukhsiyar during the period of 1713 to 1719, when small token amounts of money, ready cash, were paid to the emperor or his officers in lieu of being offered the right to issue coins in the name of the emperor. The decline of the Mughals further encouraged many such local players to step into issuing their own coins. Many of these small players thus continued to expand and grow in the coming period of the late 18th and the 19th centuries. Some of these powers, as I've already hinted at, issued coins with Devanagari. They also employed Hindu religious symbols to showcase the freedom from Mughals, who disapproved of any Indian scripts being used on the coinages of the Indian subcontinent. The pre-1858 period, prior to the uprising of the Indians against the British, was a very important period because this saw a very vast decline in the power of the Mughal Empire. In this period, or much prior to it, the Marathas, the confederates themselves issued a large number of pseudo-Mughal coins which appeared or looked like regular Mughal issues but had prominent mint marks reflective of the religious and military identity of the powers of Baroda, Gwalior, Indore, and Dhar. For instance, the initial coins of the Holkars of Indore employed prominent Hindu symbols like the Shivlinga, the Nandi, sun, and even a katar or a knife. Later, the sun symbol became the staple emblem on the Indore silver coins, and the bull became a fixture on its copper coinage. One of the most interesting examples of the Holkars is a coin issued in 1804 with the Shaka era date 1728 by the ruler Yashwantrao Holkar. He issued a coin, silver coin with Sanskrit legends which claimed Shah Alam II, the Mughal emperor, as the ruler of Indraprasth. And he was also described as the Chakravartin in the Hindu tradition. At this period, we see a large number of Rajput states sticking to the Mughal paradigm. These are coins of Savai Jaipur mint issued by the Jaipur state. As we can see on this coin, there is a vast number of resemblance to the regular rupee of Shah Alam, including the dates. And also these coins have a small jhad or a twig, which basically is the emblem of the state of Jaipur. Thus we see this increasing trend of some of the Rajput states sticking to the old pattern of issuing the Mughal rupee as its own coinages. But we see the Marathas, on the other hand, especially Baroda, for example, began issuing coins with the initials of the Gaikwad rulers. Devanagari Ga was basically imprinted on the coin to indicate Gaikwad. It also employed a prominent katar to symbolize the martial traditions prior to 1857. Similarly, Gwalior, under the Scindias, adopted the katar. Later, the silver rupees also adopted the cannon used in a number of wars by the two great rulers, Maharji and Daulat Rao Scindia, against various powers as the emblem of Gwalior. So the next slide, we'll be seeing some of these coins. On the left at the top, we see the coin of Indore with a prominent sun. And on the right, we see the coins of Gwalior with the prominent cannon. The bottom coins have on the left images of a coin of the Gaikwads of Baroda with a prominent Kha Ga indicating Khande Rao Gaikwad, and on the right the same coin in copper. Some of the regional states didn't succumb or didn't issue coins of the Mughal prototype simply because they were current regional currencies which were employed in the region. Chief among these were the princely states of Saurashtra Kutch region, namely Junagadh, Kutch, Nawanagar, also known as Jamnagar, Porbandar, who initially issued coins of these local Kori type from the Mughal period and continued the same tradition in the early modern period. Similarly, princely states of South India, Kannanur, Cochin, Coorg, Travancore, Mysore and Arcot relied on South Indian pagodas. Also, Sis Satluj states of Punjab, namely Bahawalpur, Nabha, Jind, Jammu, Kashmir, Malerkotla and Patiala issued variant coins impressed and based on the Durrani and Sikh prototypes which were earlier prevalent in the region. We see some of these examples. On the left top, we see coins of Jamnagar, and on the bottom we see the Kutch Kori. On the right top, we see a coin of Malerkotla, and in the bottom right, we see a coin of Jammu, very strongly resembling the Sikh rupees, but issued in Jammu. One notable exception to the rule was an independent tiny state of Bajrangarh, whose ruler Jai Singh issued a coin acknowledging only the authority of Lord Hanuman, with titles in Devanagari using Devanagari language. So here we see the silver rupee of Jai Singh. It comes with a date in Shaka era, and later we see prior to the Indian uprising of 1857-58, the British basically getting acknowledged as the supreme power of the subcontinent, and many of the states began acknowledging the British power by issuing coins prematurely in the name of the British. One very interesting example is the state of Rewa, whose Maharaja Raghuraj Singh issued a copper coin type, basically with the reverse English legend Agent Bushby Sahib. This referred to the local British commissioner of Bundelkhand, who basically dealt with the issue of doctrine of lapse at this period. Similarly, we find another very rare 5 rupee Nazrana coin issued by the ruler Vijay Bahadur Judev, the new ruler of Datia, with the reverse Nagri legend acknowledging or identifying himself as a company mitra, friend of the company. This is the Rewa Paisa with the term Agent Bushby Sahib impressed on the coin, on the reverse. And this is the 5 Nazarana rupee where the king identifies himself as a friend of the company. This apart, the effect of the revolt of the British victory had a strong impact on the minds of the Indian princes, and many of them began issuing coins in the name of Queen Victoria with the title Malika Muazzama. One of the exceptions was Bharatpur state, who also issued coins with images of Queen Victoria. They preferred to use her images on the series of postage stamps which showed her with a crown, rather than the British India rupee which had the portrait of the Queen without the crown. So this is the Bharatpur rupee. It was issued in Vikram Samvat 1910, corresponding to 1854, about 3 to 4 years before the uprising took place. Post 1858, most of the Indian princely states joined the fray of issuing coins in the Queen Victoria's name. Some of these included Bundi, Jaipur, Jodhpur, Jaisalmer, Jodhpur, Kishangarh, Kota, Kutch, Radhanpur and Tonk. Here we have shown a Tonk rupee in the name of Victoria. Her name is inscribed in Persian as Muazzama Victoria, and the date is 1897, again inscribed in Persian. This is the Bundi state, which rather puts Devanagari legends along with English legends in the name of Victoria with the date 1877. However, there was one state which found a very convenient reason to avoid putting the name of the Queen on their coins. This was the state of Mewar, a very rich, proud clan of Rajputs who had also opposed the Mughals. They inscribed coins with the simple legend in Devanagari, Dosti London, meaning friendship with London, as a reverse legend on all their coins after the rule of Maharaja Swarup Singh, who ruled from 1842 to 1861. This coin series was impressed, the images, the legends were used on the coins right up till the independence of the country. So in effect, Mewar avoided issuing a coin in the name of the British right till the independence of the country. These are some of the examples. These are hand-struck issues, but later on we also find machine-struck coins of Mewar with the same legend. Still, there were some other states which ignored the rise of British power. They stick to issuing coins of the Mughal paradigm or issuing them now in the rules of name of their rulers. These included Bahawalpur, Baroda, Bhopal, Faridkot, Hyderabad, Indore, Jind, Junagadh, Janjira, Kashmir and Travancore. Kashmir continued to issue coins with its Sikh style rupee, which interestingly had the emblem of IHS. IHS basically in Latin stood for the name of Lord Jesus Christ. So probably the ruler of Kashmir was trying to imply that the Christian faith was equal to the British on his coinage. So here we see a IHS rupee of Jammu. The British authorities in the meanwhile got very active. They began vigorously scrutinizing the claim of various Indian princes to issue coins. In 1872, a whole set of people sat together and conferred on the minting rights. They debated on the minting rights of various states and finally gave those rights to only 34 states. Of these, many Indian princes didn't attempt their own coinages simply out of the fear of British action. The British later introduced the Native Coinage Act of 1876. Under this act, the British government offered to mint coinages on behalf of the princely state free of charges if they agreed to close down the native mint and native style coinages and send the metal to the British mints of Bombay and Calcutta for issuing British Indian rupees. Styled as the treaty coinages of native states, the offer was open only for silver and copper coinages. 6 states only adopted or opted for this offer. This included Alwar, Bikaner, Dhar, Devas Senior, Devas Junior and Sailana. Of these 6, Alwar and Bikaner only issued silver rupees, which were styled as British Indian rupees in the name of the 2 states. The other states adopted only copper coins which were struck in the name of the state. So this is a Bikaner rupee issued in the year 1892. It names the Maharaja of Bikaner, Ganga Singh, along with a portrait of Queen Victoria. And this is a quarter anna of Sailana issued in 1912 with the portrait of George V. Few states, however, continued to resist the British offer and stuck to continuing their own coinages. Of these, Hyderabad and Baroda also went for modern coinages, but Hyderabad was allowed to issue their coins with the name of the Nizam, his titles, and the Charminar, the emblem of Hyderabad. Not only this, they were also allowed to issue later banknotes under the Hyderabad Currency Act, specially brought about in 1918 during the First World War, when there was a strong shortage of coinages in Hyderabad region. This was also in return for the state of Hyderabad helping the British with large sums of money as war effort. Hyderabad thus issued banknotes ranging from 1 to 1000 Osmani Sikka rupees. These were first issued in 1918 and continued to be issued under various governors of the official bank of Hyderabad till 1950. Here we are showing the typical Hyderabad 1 rupee coin issued in the modern period, and we are also showing a 1000 rupee banknote of Hyderabad. This is the Baroda rupee with the image of King Sayaji Rao Gaikwad III in full regalia, as you can see, and with the Qatar, which was the emblem, and it was issued in 1948. Most of the princely states did not issue the coinage in the 20th century due to the rising British opposition. Somewhere in 1910, even Baroda stopped issuing its own coinage simply because of the rising cost of silver. However, strong and rich states like Baroda, Gwalior, Hyderabad, Jodhpur, Jaipur, Kutch, Mewar and Travancore continued to strike their coins, though some of them only stuck to copper coinages on the occasion of annual ceremonies till the period of independence of the country. In the case of Kutch, the state issued a very strong, rich coinage both in gold and silver based on the Kori system. Somewhere in the 1860s, the rulers of Kutch reformed the entire coinage. They also issued coins in the name of Victoria, along with the ruler's name Pragmalji initially, and later under Khengarji III, they issued her coins with the title Kaisar-e-Hind, which was then used by many of the Indian princely states. The Kutch rulers were very supportive of the British dispensation. This was reflected majorly by a very interesting fact. In 1936, in Britain, a ruler was to sit on the throne. His name was King Edward VIII, and he was to be coronated formally somewhere in the end of 1936. As soon as the Kutch state came to know that he was to be coronated, they issued a premature coin in the name of King Edward VIII. Interestingly, Edward VIII never ascended, was formally coronated, and there were no coins of his issued even in Britain. Kutch also took the lead in 1948 to welcome the New India government with the New Indian Union. It issued coins with a Devanagari legend, Jai Hind, welcoming the new state under its new ruler, Maharao Madan Singh Ji. So these are the Kachkoris issued in the name of Edward VIII in 1936 from Bhuj. As we are aware, most of the Indian princely states gave up the right to coinage and circulate them in 1947 to 1948 when they merged with the Indian Union. The only exception was Hyderabad state, whose Osmani Sikka rupees circulated both as coins and banknotes along with the Indian rupee till 1959 when they were demonetized, though the state was absorbed into the Indian Union in 1950. These are the banknotes. This is a 1000 rupee banknote of Hyderabad state. To summarize, we would look at the coinage and the currency of the Indian princely states as a very interesting phenomenon occurring in the late Mughal period till the period of the British. The Indian princely states first began the coinage as local coinages issued from mints acquired from the local Mughal talukadars, basically by bribing them. Later on, many of the princely states came to the idea that these could be expressions of their sovereignty and thus expressed their sovereignty by issuing variety of coins which didn't match with the Mughal paradigm. Thus we see a profusion of coinages which have vast number of local imageries and languages being employed on these coins. We also see these coinages being suppressed in the beginning of the 19th century by the British, first through coercion and conquest, and finally through an actual act to restrict the coinage and circulation of these Indian princely states. But we see also a counter attempt by the Indian princes to survive and surpass this suppression by the British. And we see many of the princely states, which were especially the large and rich ones, actually thriving and issuing their own coinages. Of all the princely states, Hyderabad was the most fortunate. It also managed to issue its own banknotes, which were actually circulated at par with Indian official currencies. So it was the only currency which actually survived the period of independence and circulated much beyond the independence till 1959. Thank you for watching this module. For more information, please visit EPG Pathshala website.